everyone, welcome back. All right, fractions. So we've been doing just kind of what fractions are, and then in chapter 11 we've been talking a lot about equivalent fractions. That was 11.1. 11.2 was relating fractions onto, equivalent fractions onto a number line. And now here we are, 11.3, where we're relating fractions to whole numbers. All right? I know we talked a little bit about this in chapter 10, where we said when the numerator and the denominator are the exact same, so like 2 over 2, it's also equivalent to 1 whole. All right? We're essentially doing the exact same thing here. We're just putting them onto number lines, and hopefully some of it's review because we've kind of been talking about this in chapter 10. So let's just dive right in. On 495, we're looking at the Explore and Grow, and it says use fraction strips to complete the fractions. Draw to show your models. So behind me, I went ahead and drew what it looks like is the top half of your Explore and Grow. All right? So when I'm looking at this first one, I need to put my fraction ticks in to know the distance between 0 and 1. How am I going to figure this out? Well, I right here have 1 equals some fraction over 4. Okay? So I know in my head, and I remember back to what a denominator is, and I think, okay, I know that the denominator is how many equal parts or equal shares make 1 whole. So I have 4 equal parts, okay? So I need 4 equal shares. So here we go. I've got 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh. Let's see. 1, 2, here we go. 3. All right. So I've got 4 equal parts. So I'm going to go ahead and label. Remember back to chapter 10, our steps, make your equal shares and then label your fractions, okay? So this is equivalent, 0 is like 0 over 4. So then I have 1/4, make these a little shorter, 2/4, 3/4, and then what is 1 whole? It's 1 whole or 4 over 4, okay? So I'm going to put a plot right here above the 1 because I know 1 equals 4/4, okay? So that's part 1. And then we're going to do the same thing down here. And if you remember, towards the end of chapter 10, we were talking about fractions that could be greater than 1. All right, so I still know that I'm working with fourths. All right, so I'm going to divide each of these sections into 4 equal parts on both sides of the number 1. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. I know this is 0/4. I know from this problem that 1 whole is also 4/4. Okay? So now, starting at the 0, I'm going to add 1 unit fraction to label my tick marks. So we've got 1/3. Whoop! I'm so sorry. We have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Now I'm at 4/4. My adding 1 unit fraction does not end there. So I'm going to keep adding 1/4. Okay, so 4/4 plus 1/4 is 5/4. 6/4. 7/4. 2 wholes is equal to 8/4. Okay, so down here I have 2 equals 8/4. So all I did each time was I added 1 unit fraction to the previous to get my next tick mark. Looking at the repeated reasoning, how many fourths did you use to model 2 than you did to model 1? How many more fourths will you need to model 3? So, well, how many fourths did I have to model 2? 8. I had 8. So I had 8 1/4 to make 2 whole, or 2 wholes. Okay. So I had 8 1/4 fractions. How many more fourths would I need to complete a model of 3? Well, if I have a section and I've got 4 and then 8, add 4 more, I will end up with 12. Okay, so 3 equals 12 fourths. All right, let's keep moving on. So, turning the page to 496, I'm looking up the top where it says, example, write the numbers 1 and 2 as fractions. Awesome. Well, we've kind of been doing that. Okay? So it gives me the number line. All right, and I have 0, 1, and 2. All right, and it says 1 whole divided into 1 equal part. So 1 whole divided into 1 equal part can be written as 1/1. 1 whole. When I have 2 wholes divided into 1 equal part, it will be written as 2/1. Okay? So it says 1 is equal to 1/1, and 2 is equal to 2/1. All right, so that's where we are looking at the whole being divided into 1 equal part, right? So now look at the next example where it says write equivalent fractions for numbers 1 and 2. All right, this is kind of tying in with 11.2 where we have different fractions on the top than we do the bottom. So again, when solving this one, I'm going to use 2 different colors to hopefully help it make some sense. All right? Okay, I guess I could have left my number line there. So I've got a number line. Everything that is in black is what the book already gave you, okay? No, I'm not going to do that actually. So I'm going to just do my 0, my 1, and my 2. Okay. So down at the bottom, I have 0/2, okay, which is telling me that this 1 whole is only divided into 2. Let me move this one so it looks a little more equal. Okay. So then they give you the 1/2 on this tick. This can also be equivalent if I'm just moving 1 tick forward. Okay, I'm just adding 1 unit fraction. The 1 is also equivalent to 2/2, which you have to fill in yourself. I'm only focusing on 1 fraction at a time so I don't get confused. So that's why I started with the halves. And since it gave me the 0/2 and the 1/2, or 1/2, I know that adding 1 more unit fraction will give me 2 halves, okay? And then it gives us 3 halves. And again, I need to add 1 more unit fraction to my 3 halves to tell me what 2 equals. 2 equals 4 halves. Okay, so each time I just added 1 unit fraction. Now, on the other side or on the top half, we have 0 is equal, they have 0/4. All right. So I know between 0 and 1 that I'm going to need 4 equal parts. So here, I've got my 1/4. At my 1/2, adding another unit fraction is 2/4. So right then and there, I know that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. Okay? And some of these tricks and just knowing like 2/4 is equal to 1/2, you will catch on and you'll know them too. So then I have to keep going. I need one more unit fraction to get 3/4. So 1 whole, adding 1 unit fraction is going to be 4/4. But I'm not done there. What I do from 0 to 1, I also need to do 1 to 2. So I'm going to keep going, and I will add another unit fraction to get 5/4. Right where my 3/2 is, I will have 6/4. I need 1 more to make 7/4. And then 2 wholes, adding 1 more unit fraction, I will end up with 8/4. Okay? So that's the labeling. And then we have to fill in these blanks. So it says 1 is equal to a number over 1. It's equal to a number over 2, and it's equal to a number over 4. Okay. So if I'm looking from 0 to 1, 1 is equal, if it's only divided into, it can't be divided if we're only looking at 1 equal share. So 1 is equal to 1 over 1. Okay, 1 equal share. When I'm looking at 2, or the halves, I'm looking at my purple. Okay? So when I'm looking at 2, what did I get right here over that was equivalent to 1? 2 halves. And then the fourths, I'll be looking at my green. How many equal shares did I have right here to equal 1? 4/4. Okay? So that's what we're looking at there. And then we have to do it again with what 2 wholes equals. So we have 2 equals something over 1, something over 2, and something over 4. All right? So if you remember back to the top half, okay, where it said 2 is equal, 2 wholes is divided into 1 equal part, well, that is going to be written as 2 over 1. 2 wholes divided into 1 equal part. Okay, so that's looking back up at that top number line on 290 or 496. And then we're looking at the halves again. Okay, so I'm going to find my 2 wholes right here, and I'm going to look at that fraction. Okay, how many halves did I have to equal 2? 2 full. I had 4 halves. I was looking right here, and I have 4 halves. Okay, so that's 4. Then I'm looking again at my fourth. So I'm going to go back to where my 2 whole was. Sorry, it looks like I erased it a little bit. So I'm going to go back to where my 2 was, my 2 wholes, and I'm going to look up at where my fourths are. I have 8 fourths that are equal to 2. All right? So that is part 1. Part 1, step 1. Check out the next video, and I'll give you a couple more examples, and hopefully this will make more sense. All right? See you soon.